party tonight! What? TV party tonight!
Oh! We got nothing better to do than watch TV and have a couple of brews.
Don't want to talk about anything else!
We don't want to know!
We're dedicated, yes,
To our favorite shows!
Oh my circuits!
Everybody loves Hypnotoad!
Scary dog!
Dancing at Blursville!
Futurama!
Good evening. You are listening to a Radulich Broadcasting premiere podcast TV party tonight. I'm your host, the mandated reporter, and frankly, I'm mortified, Mr. Mark Radulich. And tonight, our favorite show is Harley Quinn, Season 2. Brought to you by the good people at Warner Brothers Animation, DC Entertainment, yes, Norman, Woof Productions, Sugar D Productions, and Warner Brother Television Distribution, plus the streaming service DC Universe. Joining me tonight, as he did for Season 1, is your friend and mine from our Canadian office. It's David Wright. How do you do, sir?
Your podcast distracts me from my master plan. Break the Batman, punish Gotham for its transgressions, and stand atop the mountain of skulls left in my wake. I'm okay, Mark.
Thank you, Bane. Sorry, your Bane, while amusing and definitely a good impression of the one in this show, not as good as our friend Robert Cooper from the Metal Hammer, formerly of the Metal Hammer of Doom. I must break you, Batman. I have a Batman face mask that I wear around work because you have to have a face mask now. That's the world we live in.
Yeah.
Wear your mask, people. I want this to someday end and go back to going to concerts and live wrestling events. But I digest. So I have this Bane one, and every time somebody sees it, they go, "Is that Bane?" And I go, "I was born in the darkness, Batman." And everyone giggles.
Yeah. And what do you mean? This is the best Bane in Harley Quinn.
All right, so Season 1, and I think when this was originally developed, they had developed a total of 26 episodes, and they were like, 26 episodes, that's too long. That's, the average streamable season is easily digestible in 10 to 13 episodes, these being 22 minutes to a half an hour. I think they figured, let's just cut this in half at its natural breaking point, which was Joker had won, and he killed Poison Ivy, he demasked the Batman, and through various machinations, both Batman and the Joker are buried alive in Joker's cave, hideaway...
Tower. The wreckage of his tower.
Yeah. So this picks up... Now, at this point, Poison Ivy has come back to life. She's emerged from her flower, as it were. And this is basically their take on the No Man's Land storyline, where Gotham is now isolated from the rest of the United States, and they have to figure out what to do on their own. And it's kind of broken up into two to three parts. The first part being the Injustice League and Harley Quinn are fighting over the remnants of Gotham. The police have lost control of the island, and because the Injustice League won't cooperate with Harley, and Harley won't cooperate with the Injustice League, she spends the first couple of episodes taking out the Injustice League in various ways. Then there's the proposal and wedding planning between Poison Ivy and Kite Man, which leads to some developments between Poison Ivy and Harley Quinn. And then finally, there's the race to the wedding and the reassertion of force and control by the Gotham PD under James Gordon. We also get the introduction of Batgirl, Barbara Gordon, this season. So let's start right there. Going into Season 2, how excited were you to see what they were doing with this? And I know we talked about Season 1. We both enjoyed it. We both thought they... it mostly dealt with her relationship with the Joker and how toxic it was and everything. I think we both said that this is probably the best written Harley Quinn outside of the comics we've ever seen. This was pretty amazing, especially compared to the most recent live-action film. So what were your, just kind of setting off the conversation here, what were your expectations of Season 2?
Mostly more of the same.
Okay.
Sorry. Yeah, not the most fancy expectations, but yeah, it's like, hey, first season was good. I want to see more of this.
Okay. So, right off the bat then, like I said, the first series of episodes deals with her taking down the Injustice League. I thought these episodes were okay. We kind of got a lot of this in the second season. The first season, where she was trying to join the Injustice League to validate herself, and I thought to a degree this was kind of a rehash of that. What did you think?
Yeah, it's more her establishing herself. She's not so much looking for validation as just, like survival, staking out her own territory and showing everyone who's on top.
Yeah.
So yeah, like there is a thematic follow through from first season there.
Yeah, I think they built upon it. So it's not so in that sense it's not a total rehash, but a lot of, I would say thematically it was very similar.
Yeah. In this case, we don't have the Joker relationship at this point anymore, so it's more Harley taking that next step out on her own.
Right.
With
It's
her
kind
crew.
of figuring out what to do with herself going forward. I would say that the season 2 definitely gets better as time goes on. It doesn't start from its best place. I think it takes a little while to get going again, and that I feel like it took a few steps back to then run forward as the season progresses.
Well, I think like the first episode where it's her up against Penguin, that was just kind of like a good fun romp. Welcome back to the show. Here's the new Gotham, separated from the United States with no police force, as if that would ever happen in America. People from the future, please comment and let us know how it all worked out. Yeah, but and then the second episode that introduces Catwoman, and I think it's more of an Ivy.
Yes.
Yeah, more of an Ivy focused episode where it's more, what are you doing with your life now, sort of thing. And like Ivy's sort of.
That's actually I think
cross
episode
between
3 you're talking about.
Oh, is that episode 3?
Episode 2 is Riddle You.
Oh, right, Riddle You. Yeah, that one was more establishing Barbara Gordon.
Yes,
I think. And
what did you think? What did you think of Batgirl this season?
I thought she was all right. I mean, a very modern take on Batgirl.
Yeah, I thought they pulled this right out of the New 52. I don't know how much of that you read, but
none at all.
Okay, she's kind of like a steampunk Batgirl. I think, as from what I recall in the New 52, and I think they were trying to capture that here. This whole thing like reeks of New 52.
Yeah, it's more the vlogging during her crime fighting escapades.
Yeah, very millennial.
Yeah,
which I think works well for a series written in 2020. Like, I don't know how well this is going to age. I don't know if this is going to be a timeless classic, but I think if you're watching it now and you're a comic book fan, I think this is very of the moment.
Yeah, but I think parts of the story too are very universal. Like Harley's dealing with her relationship with Joker. More of the character dynamic stuff I think is
that's timeless. Absolutely.
But yeah, like Barbara Gordon vlogging and that kind of stuff. Again, it's not super specific. It's not like when you write a message with a bird, it's called tweeting.
So this ends with
that's
them...
a bit like, oh, that's going to date.
So this ends with so there's no power in Gotham, and they foil the Riddler's plan, and they kidnap him, and they make him run on a giant hamster wheel in order to generate power at the mall, which becomes a hilarious gag as the season progresses.
Agreed.
The next one, called Trapped, is the one where they're trying to get Firefly's flamethrower from Dr. Trapp's museum. And this is the one with Catwoman. You were starting to talk about Catwoman here.
Yeah. It's just it's amusing how Ivy is sort of at this, has a bit of an inferiority complex, yet is also a super fangirl towards Catwoman. So whenever she's away from Catwoman, it's like, oh, I can't stand her. She thinks she's so much better than everyone. The moment Catwoman shows up, it's like, oh, you like my jacket? Here, wear. Oh, it looks so much better on you.
Yeah, I thought this was a very fun interpretation of Catwoman, where she's just a diva that Poison Ivy loses herself in.
Yeah.
Loses her identity, loses almost her free will, which I think is kind of funny.
Yeah, but it's more when Catwoman starts talking to her. She's like, "So you're getting married? Like when's the last time you did any eco-terrorism? Like you're losing your edge."
Yeah.
And then Ivy's like, "Well, when's the last time you stole jewels?" And then you just switch to Catwoman. She's covered in jewelry. She's like, "I'm always stealing jewels."
Yeah, I was very amused by that.
Yeah, it's kind of like one of the sort of a miniaturized version of the what have you achieved? What are you doing with your life? Sort of pre-midlife crisis event type story. But that's I think mostly what that episode sort of did, and then we get the Mr. Freeze episode.
Well, before you get to Mr. Freeze, you got to talk about Kite Man. So, Poison Ivy's at this place in her life now, and here's where you get to the really human element of a really silly story, and that's kind of the fun of Harley Quinn, is that there's a lot of gross, silly, over the top, violent antics. But at the heart of it, it's a show about relationships. It's a show about people. And that's what I love about it.
Agreed.
This season was also very focused on Poison Ivy.
Yeah, definitely.
And Poison Ivy has figured out that she loves Harley Quinn. But Harley Quinn is like an agent of chaos. And she's kind of like she's definitely got Arrested Development. And she's probably narcissistic personality disorder. She cannot get out of her own way at times, and she tends to get kind of lost in her own goals and wishes. And Poison Ivy is tended to be this calming influence on Harley. She's Harley's rock that she clings to, but in doing so, she almost gets subsumed into Harley, and she loses her identity. And this season, they really made a point of establishing Poison Ivy as her own separate person with her own set of desires, and a lot of it is her recognizing that she wants to be settled. She sees Kite Man as her own settling rock that she's trying to cling to, and Harley is making that nigh impossible. And that starts off in earnest with this episode. Where you have, Harley, who just thinks Kite Man's kind of a douche, and she wants Poison Ivy. She wants Poison Ivy to be orbiting her life in some way, and then she realizes that Kite Man's just a sweetie as he tries to steal her a ring, which she knows that Poison Ivy won't like, but his heart's in the right place, and so she kind of warms up to Kite Man in this episode, which we see does not work out by the end of this series.
Yeah, I always find, Kite Man, I wouldn't really base my life on him. Mm-hmm. He's somewhat of a fop. Like, the only thing solid in Kite Man's life is his appreciation of kites.
I don't know. I think that's a bit harsh.
Oh, no, don't get me wrong. He's a good guy and he's trying, but yeah, like, I don't really see him as this sort of super stable guy that I would use as my emotional rock. But he's certainly, his heart is in the right place, and he's giving it his best shot at this. I sort of get the idea that this is almost like a first time relationship for both of them.
He's like the quintessential nice guy, but he's also like super bro. And maybe I think that's what you're reading off of him, is that it's not that he's an agent of chaos in some way. In fact, he's probably one of the more stable characters in the show. On the other hand, he's kind of a dude bro. And I think that's one of the problems that Harley had. Like, Harley, I think, thinks Poison Ivy is better than a dude bro.
Yeah.
And I think she feels like Poison Ivy is settling. And in a way, she is. But, I mean, is that the worst thing ever? To settle for safety. To settle for calming influences. And I say that and people will be like, huh? Think about it. I don't know how much dating you've done, David, but I've dated my share of crazy women in my time. Funny thing about crazy women is they're a lot of fun, but they also are not the most stable of people. So when you try to settle down and you try to make a life with them, it becomes exponentially difficult to one degree or another. And you start thinking to yourself, maybe I shouldn't date the craziest women I can find. Maybe I should settle for a little less crazy. And some might not like the word settle, but I don't know what other word to use in this instance. And so I think that tells you the tale of season 2 right there with Poison Ivy and Kite Man and Harley Quinn.
Yeah, well, with Ivy and Kite Man, again, it sort of feels like a sort of first relationship. You know, and you know, we've seen Ivy's somewhat of an introvert. She doesn't make friends easily. She's, you know, finds social situations awkward, though she still has a decent head on her shoulders. So, you know, like, they kind of have this idea of what a relationship is and what the responsibilities of each other should be, which they do very well, but they haven't experienced the sort of pitfalls and waves and ups and downs that sort of go with actually being in a relationship with someone that, you know, usually end up, you know, ruining first-time relationships.
When you first meet Poison Ivy, she has her own apartment. She has Frank the Plant. She's doing okay for herself. And then Harley comes into her world, and she has no coffee table anymore, and she has no TV, and suddenly she has no apartment. Now she's living in a derelict, abandoned mall with, you know, Clayman, Dr. Psycho, Cyborgman, and Harley Quinn. Her life is upside down, and I think she looks at Kite Man as the way out. The way back.
Though the relationship with Kite Man started before most of that happened. Like, that was started
right,
at
but they
the
were just
bar
dating.
mitzvah. But
yeah, I was gonna say, like, at that point, it was just based around, like, shameful sex, you know.
Yeah.
And like I said, I think as things developed, not the least of which is she dies, I think she starts to see Kite Man. This guy's throwing himself at her, and I think she sees him as a way out of the mess. All right. Yeah. Now is the episode with Mr. Freeze, where he gives his life to bring back Nora, who becomes part of what's going to be known as the Cobb Squad.
Oh, we'll get to that. But, the most important aspect of that episode was when Mr. Freeze, without any hesitation, gives his life to save his wife. And, you know, all through this, Harley's been like, "Oh, there's no such thing as true love. It's all a scam." You know, he's just frozen her because he doesn't want her to leave him, because men, they're all controlling and rah rah rah, and you know, then she basically sets everything up by unfreezing. I forget Mr. Freeze's wife's name, even though you just said it. Yeah, Nora Freeze, and then discovers, like, oh no, she was actually being frozen there to keep her from dying, and now she's created this ticking clock situation where something needs to happen fast or she's dead. Don't know why they can't just refreeze her. I mean, it's Mr. Freeze, but anyway, the story must happen. And yeah, so then Poison Ivy comes up with a cure and says, like, this will cure her, but someone has to give their blood to the point of death in order for this to work. And Dr. Freeze just says, well, that's me. You know, she's my wife. I love her. I would gladly give my life for her. And that's the point where Harley's like, oh wow, like, Joker would have never done that for me.
Right.
And
so
Joker
that's kind of her out of a helicopter.
Yeah, again. Yeah, so that's the big sort of thematic moment of that, is Harley sort of seeing, well, I guess for supervillains you could say, is a healthy relationship.
Yeah, he sacrifices himself to save his true love. You know, I think it's what makes Harley believe that true love is possible when she's, you know, just been nothing but toxic relationships. The other half of this, the B story, was, and you said you're married, so I don't know if you ever went through this, but, you know, trying to find a venue for your wedding, not always the easiest thing.
Yeah, actually it was pretty easy for us, but
what
can I say? I've got good taste.
You know, availability is a thing, you know, competition, that sort of thing. And that's what's going on here, is Kite Man, you find out, is kind of keeping up with the Joneses, and there's this much sought after venue to hold their reception, and he's in competition with the infamous Condiment King. Look it up; it's worth the Google.
Yeah. Oh, side note: the exhibit in Traps to Egghead was brilliant. I love a good Egghead reference.
Yeah. So this was a fun little B story, and it's, you know, it's one of those where, like, normally it's the woman who gets kind of crazy about the sort of thing, and the guy who doesn't give a shit. You know, in this sense, it was Kite Man who's very like, no, we have to have the perfect wedding. You know, it has to be the perfect show wedding. And Poison Ivy's like, I just don't want to live a crazy life anymore.
Yeah. Can we just go to like what's left of City Hall and get the license? Like it's the marriage is the important thing, not the wedding, which is very, very good advice, listeners.
Yes. All right. So we've taken out Mr. Freeze. We've taken out the Penguin. We've basically not killed him, but we've taken out the Riddler. So we've taken out most of the Injustice gang. All that's left is Two-Face, who bullies Bane and Bane.
Yeah. You mean two faces? All that's left is Two Faces.
Which brings us to episode 5, Batman's back, man. Two-Face and Bane decide to team up in order to stand a better chance against Harley, and they keep disagreeing how to label their combined organization. This episode was very funny.
Yes. Like there's me, there's both faces, and then there's a shadow. Yes, I see the shadow I was born in.
Batman tries to re-enter the crime-fighting field, but he hurts himself in the process. Even with the high-tech bat suit that is created for him, he still gets
the Iron Batman suit.
Yeah, he still gets his ass kicked. So he kind of he blesses Batgirl to continue the fight without him, and he kind of hangs out in the background.
Yeah. Oh, the dynamic between Alfred and Bruce Wayne in this was just priceless. The sort of tit for tat back and forth, and Alfred just trying to be the responsible adult. It's like, no, you're not ready to go back and fight crime. It's like, but I must fight crime. Gotham needs me.
Yeah, they do a good job of really playing on Batman's obsession with being a vigilante.
Yeah, sort of taking a deeper aspect of the character, but also playing it for comedy.
Yeah. They really do. The series does a great job of taking the piss out of Batman. So that's what happens. That's the big thing that happens with this one. Yes, absolutely, with love. Is you get to see more of Alfred, who I think not since Michael Caine has really given it to Batman, and putting him in his place.
Yeah, I was in the Royal Navy. Oh, what? Did you fight over the last crumpet? Sometimes.
So the next episode is where we discover that the Joker is alive with a healthy dose of amnesia.
Oh, just a side note. What did you think of like the opening and closing brackets on the Batman only episode?
Refresh my memory.
So it was like the two basement dwellers, one with the released the Snyder Cut T-shirt, the other with the Force Awakens is not canon. Basically, like, well, I wrote a review of Harley Quinn that it's terrible because it's all feminism and women and stuff. Did you watch it? No. Why would I? It's gonna suck.
Okay, but see, I'm not easily offended by that sort of thing. Number one, I don't feel that way. We're fucking talking about it. And I've done nothing but heap praise on this thing. So clearly, that's not directed at me.
Oh, no. I enjoyed it. I thought it was a great little...
Yeah,
little
I'm not...
Because there are people like that. I don't know how much of a basement dweller, but there certainly are people out there who are just like, oh, this has got a female protagonist. It's gotta suck.
I went through this phase where I was watching a lot of YouTube videos that reviewed movies and stuff like that. I watched a lot of them, and I still will get eventually like caught up on Midnight's Edge because I like their news. I don't necessarily watch their movie reviews, but their news items. Yeah. I tend to kind of follow what's going on behind the scenes to talk about on our shows.
Allegedly.
Yeah.
I mean, I don't mind Midnight's Edge, but take them with a huge grain of salt, guys.
Right. And so I don't, I let them tell me if Doomcock has said anything interesting. For a while there, I was watching Mr. H reviews. I was watching a couple of these other guys where the camera setup was basically some fat guy with the camera in his face and them reading off the internet and yelling a lot. And I stopped doing that because it was pissing me off because that's all this was a bunch of fat, white, bearded guys screaming about how there shouldn't be girls in films.
Yeah, but what I will give Harley Quinn credit for is it earned that moment. Like after first season being as good as it was, it kind of, it had earned the whole let's poke fun at the people that just hate this show because women.
And that and we talked about this when we Alexis and I talked about the comic book from 2019, Harley Quinn and Poison Ivy, and I was looking at the comics on the Yar site that I read it on. Yar, A Pirate's Life for me.
Yeah.
And it was like, yay, lesbians. Okay, it's a good story. Who gives a shit? I mean, so the answer to your question is, I like that they took the piss out of these incels that don't watch these shows and like hate on Supergirl, they hate on Batwoman. I mean, Alexis and I reviewed Batwoman, but we watched it and gave it a fair watching.
Yeah.
And I think if anyone listens to that review, did I love Batwoman? No. But I wasn't one of the ones piling on before the series was even over saying, oh, look at the ratings, it's tanking. All the CW shows' ratings go down over the season. People start watching them, and then people lose interest. And, very rarely do they all trend downward, and they all get renewed.
Yeah, I don't.
What the
I don't,
fuck
I don't
else
watch
does CW have?
Yeah, I've never watched any of the CW superhero stuff. I don't know how they keep making them, but somehow they do. So I guess good for them.
Supergirl is going into its 6th season, and it's nowhere near what it started out as in terms of ratings.
I just remember when I heard that Smallville was getting canceled, and my first thought was, Smallville still on?
And I'm going to say it again. I like The Last Jedi. I think the people who hate The Last Jedi just didn't get it and are too attached to what their conception of Star Wars is, but whatever. I'm not here to re-debate that topic.
Yeah, no, please. If you are interested, please watch our Mandalorian podcast, or rather listen to it, since there's no video. But I think that there's a lot more interesting things to critique with stuff rather than just the is this or is this not diverse, minority, SJW, so on and so forth.
Yeah. This thing is chock full, and that's the thing that might make people uncomfortable. Here's the thing. Not to pat myself in the back and toot my own horn, but I think the Radulich and Broadcasting Network discussions of television shows and movies are at a higher level than most of the stuff that's out there. Maybe we don't use all the big words, and maybe I make a dick joke or two, but I think at the end of it, we give things a fair shot. I think we break things down pretty well compared to other people. And while they might get caught up in the weeds and rumors and minutia, I think we're having good, intellectual, insightful discussion about these shows. So, go ahead.
But yeah, I will gladly take a sort of systematic breakdown of someone getting out of a bad relationship over, you know why they're called Harlequins.
Exactly.
Yeah. Okay, so now that everyone stopped listening.
Yeah, and now that everyone gave up on this. Moving on.
Yeah.
Now, episode 6. This is the night out where they've discovered that Joker is alive with a healthy dose of amnesia, as I said before. Turns out when he got buried in the rubble, he got his head knocked about, and he doesn't remember being the Joker. Occasionally, he has moments of crazy laughter, but for the most part, he's just dating a woman, raising a stepchild, and tending bar.
Yeah, I think there was also, he got sprayed with the not make you the Joker anymore acid that he was going to use on Harley at the end of the previous season. I'm not sure how, removing someone's, pale skin is going to make them no longer a supervillain when these supervillains don't have any powers other than, as Yahtzee Croshaw put it, an incredibly efficient human resources department. But anyway,
this is also
there's a talking shark.
Yeah. This is also the flashback episode where we get to see her as Dr. Harleen Quinzel, and she's and they're doing a Silence of the Lambs thing where they're trying to figure out where Joker planted a bomb and all that.
Yeah, want to know how I got these emotional scars? God, I love this show.
At the end of it, Harley and Ivy get captured by Two-Face, which brings us to, this is the one I thought was hysterical.
Yeah, just a sidebar before we move on there. We see a lot of how Gordon and Harvey Dent were before Harvey got turned into Two-Face. And I just thought it was a bit strange that they never really addressed that these guys seem to have somewhat of a friendship in the past. Yet whenever Two-Face and Gordon interact in the present in the show, they may as well just be another villain.
Yeah.
Yeah, that would have been an interesting angle to explore with those two characters in their relationship.
It would have. I think maybe if they do future seasons of this, I don't know if Kelly Kawako is interested in doing any more of these, or if she's like, well, this was a great project and we hit it out of the park, and let's not mess with success. So who knows?
Yeah.
So far, and it's hard to see what has been. There's been a slew of stuff that's been renewed despite COVID, but I think COVID put a lot of things on the back burner for now. So, you know.
Yeah.
We'll
Well, I
see.
think it would be a bit easier to do animation because you don't actually have to be close to each other to act.
No, they can.
You can literally phone in your performance.
Literally.
Yeah.
So
I'd be more worried about the animation studio, but anyway, that's for other people to worry about.
So episode 7, there's no place to go but down. They are in a kangaroo court held by Two-Face and Bane. And my favorite part of this episode, Man-Bat as the defense attorney.
I was almost hoping that when he came in, instead of him screeching with subtitles, he would actually just like speak with like this very eloquent British accent, almost like the brain gremlin from Gremlins 2.
Yes.
You're like, members of the jury and judge, please see the following evidence proving that unequivocally that my clients are ipso facto innocent of the aforementioned charges. And it's just like, oh wow, didn't know the Man-Bat was this.
I can't remember. My friend used to do this impression of like a sketch that he saw, and for the life of me, I can't remember where the sketch was from. But it was
Python and the Holy Grail.
No, it wasn't anything like that. It was like a puppet, and the puppet was like, "If your daughter like it was some sort of like they were making an argument before court." And it's like, if your daughter was thirsty, would you not give her a cool glass of water? Like, you know, to your point, that's kind of what I was expecting.
Yeah,
from Man-Bat.
but him just screeching all over the place. That was funny too.
Yes,
there are more than one way to approach that situation.
So they are thrown in the pit, in the darkness, as it were. But as it turns out, Bane is actually running a very progressive prison, very Sweden-esque.
This is where reform.
Yes. This is where they plot their escape because George Lopez is coming to perform, and they figure they'll just hop a ride on his copter when he goes to leave. Harley sacrifices herself to stop Bane and allow Ivy to escape, though she is able to save her before sharing a kiss. Meanwhile, Gordon, self-confident, takes another hit after he fails to stop the rat catcher. When Two-Face storms his house, he plans to give up until Batgirl saves him and reveals her identity as Barbara. With Gordon's confidence restored, the pair team will take back the GCPD headquarters, with Gordon defeating and incarcerating Two-Face. And that's how that episode ends. And that kind of closes out the Injustice arc. Because going forward, first, Harley Quinn's going to figure out how to... She gets convinced that she needs an army to take over Gotham, and this is how she's going to end up with an army of parademons. And this is our introduction to Darkseid, which is really fun. Like, they do a great job of making Darkseid an over-the-top heel.
Yeah, Dark Ironside.
But this also, the second half of the season deals more with more directly with the Harley-Ivy relationship. They kissed in the last one, but they kissed mid, like Harley almost died, basically. She almost burned up. And so they kind of kiss in a moment of passion, and they're like, oh, well. It was just this one time. Didn't mean anything. Let's just move on. And Ivy's gotta suppress it.
Always, always. Oh, she's crazy. Always going around kissing people.
That's right. Yeah, her walking around kissing everybody in the headquarters was really funny.
Yeah, nervously calling attention to it. It's like, did something happen?
By the way, we haven't talked a lot about Dr. Psycho this season, but like he has interactions with the Riddler and Harley in this episode that are really like Dr. Psycho probably is one of my favorite characters in this entire series because he's such a dick. But they write him so funny, you know, like all the surrounding characters around Harley, King Shark, Clayface, you know, doing his over the top acting. It all works together very well. Like there's not like even Cyborg, man. I didn't really love it first, but this season, he kind of came into his own too. So I just want to put that out there. So Harley decides to take over Gotham with an army, together with the enthusiastic Dr. Psycho and a reluctant Clayface and King Shark. Harley steals Mr. Miracle's mother box. Oh my god, the stuff with Mr. Miracle is goddamn hilarious.
Yeah, when Psycho's like explain the elaborate plan, and Harley just goes up on stage and beats him up with a baseball bat and takes the mother box.
Take that, Tom King. Everyone loves his run on Mr. Miracle. That's the joke there.
Okay.
That'd have been funny if you'd read comics.
Yeah. It's like I don't have anything against comics. It's just I have enough things that I'm interested in that take up time and money. My plate's full, guys. Sorry.
Just read this and watch the stuff I tell you, Dave. It'll be a lot easier that way.
Okay, fine.
I know, I'm such a bully. She has to defeat Granny Goodness in order to get this parademon army, which she does. Let's see. Ivy. Oh, okay. So the B plot of this is when Kite Man takes Poison Ivy to meet his parents, and they, initially he thinks they're going to be very judgy of her. Turns out they love her because she's a metahuman, and Kite Man has no powers, and they want metahuman grandchildren. So at the end of the episode, Poison Ivy tells them to piss off, and so they do.
Yeah, she stands up for Kite Man.
Yeah. And so they grow closer.
Yeah, if you've ever seen anything with disapproving parents, you know exactly what Kite Man's parents are like. Wasn't his mom voiced by Jessica Walters? Sounded a lot like her.
I'll have to look.
Yeah, that would be Archer's mom from Archer.
I don't watch Archer. So Gordon's army confronts Harley's parademon armies only to get slaughtered until Ivy arrives and makes Harley realize what she's done. Harley relinquishes control of the parademons and lets Gordon win, an enraging Psycho to the point of quitting the crew. When Harley tries to tell Ivy her feelings, Kite Man interrupts them, causing them to hide them once more. Okay. My favorite episode of the entire season. I made my wife sit and watch part of this. They go to Themyscira for a bachelorette party.
Yes.
Oh, this is so good. Because I have been privy to a number of bachelorette parties, and I made my wife sit and watch this one because I knew because knowing how hers went, I needed her reaction to it. She's sitting here she didn't watch any of the rest of this, and this is not really her bag, but she got it when I made her watch this, and she was like, "Oh yeah, this is every bachelorette party ever." This is, of course, where they get, or at least this is where they all order Cobb salads, and start calling themselves the Cobb Squad. And it's Harley, Ivy, Catwoman, and Nora Freeze, plus a random friend from Ivy's past named Jennifer, which I think it would have been funny if they'd called her Karen.
Yeah. Was that joked around when they wrote that, I wonder? Probably.
Yeah. So, they're doing bachelorette things, and it's, of course, there's always the one bridesmaid or maid of honor or whatever that's I actually remember years and years ago when one of my wife's friends got married, and the sister was like, anyone fucking ruins this bachelorette party for my sister, I'm throwing them in the water.
Yeah.
And her name was Jennifer, come to think of it. How funny.
Yeah.
So there's always one that's the fun Nazi. Everyone will have fun, and you will like it. They do a stripper bit. They do day drinking. They do spas. All the bachelorette stuff.
Yeah.
So the gag
Check
here,
box.
yes, the gag here is that the resort is being run by Eris, and
she's hypnotized or mind controlled the queen.
Yeah, Queen Hippolyta to make her sell the island to LexCorp.
Yeah, basically franchise it out into a spa.
Right. The girls manage to thwart this scheme, freeing Hippolyta and celebrating their victory with more alcohol, leading to Harley and Ivy unwittingly having sex for a second time. Yeah. Okay, so they got drunk the first night and they ended up having sex. Then they thwarted an evil plot, which led to them having sex again.
Yeah. Yeah, I mean, the thwarting the evil plot was the main attraction of the bachelorette party.
Yes, it's what Ivy always wanted.
Yeah. Still the best reaction when Hippolyta gets unmind controlled, and Harvey's like, "Oh, by the way, we just saved your entire island." It's like, "Well, then we must celebrate." And Harvey's like, "By throwing a frickin' rager." She's like, "By throwing a frickin' rager." And then cut to party. Amazonians gone wild.
Yes. It's the best kind. Meanwhile, the other side of this, the B side of this story, is Kite Man's having a bachelor party, and he's just out there on a yacht, gone fishing. It's all great. And
making a puzzle.
And King Shark is called back to his kingdom because he has a betrothed that he ran away from.
Yep. Arranged marriage.
In arranged marriage. He's supposed to unite these two shark clans, Hammerhead Sharks and King Sharks. He sends up to his father and ends up getting married anyway with hopes to find true love someday. And then when they return from Themyscira, Ivy chooses to stay with Kite Man, saying she loves and trusts Harley with her life, but not her heart, leaving Harley distraught.
I'm surprised you didn't mention the musical number about how great it is to be in the sea because you can poop at any time.
I called my kids in for that one. We all got a good laugh.
That sounds very Radulich.
Yeah, I had a huge. I honestly forgot about it until you mentioned it, but no doubt, I laughed my ass off at that.
Yeah, and of course, you listener, you know exactly what song that was based on. I don't even need to say the name.
Under the sea.
Yeah. Oh, give it away, Mark.
Under the sea.
Singing Lobster.
There it is better. You can pee anywhere. All right.
Yep. Yeah. Just remember, everyone. The ocean is aquatic life's toilet.
Dude, King Shark's reaction to that was the best. He's like, you better have a better argument than I can poop anywhere.
Yeah.
It's so good.
Like, well, we couldn't really find many lyrics that rhymes with you. You have to, do your royal duty and submit to an arranged marriage.
All right, so the whole time this has all been going on, the Riddler has been running on this treadmill, so he is jacked up. He is super muscular now.
Oh, he flexes at the drop of a hat.
So, in an attempt to cope with Ivy rejecting her, Harley goes to a bar at Wayne Tower, only to find the amnesiac Joker working there. Suddenly, a group of thugs attack, holding the customers hostage and handcuffing the two former lovers together. They manage to escape, discovering the thugs were a distraction, so a newly muscular Riddler, who escaped from the mall again, could sneak in and steal a mind control helmet. And this is what takes us into the last part of the story of this entire season. Joined by Gordon, King Shark, Clayface, and Borgman, Harley and Joker quickly discover that the Riddler is working with Dr. Psycho, who has sworn revenge on Harley for underappreciating him, before he uses the helmet to enslave the remaining parademons, as well as Clayface and King Shark. Borgman gives his eye to Harley as a memento before sacrificing himself to help her. Gordon and the Joker escape. After realizing they need to free the Justice League from the Book of Fables, which was another funny bit, Joker mentions having several dreams about his past life, including the book, but he struggles to remember where it is. To jog his memory, Harley reluctantly brings him to Ace Chemicals, and in a turnabout is fair play, she shoves him into the vat of acid.
Whoa! It's like poetry, it rhymes.
Fuck you. How to deal with your trauma. That's what I got out of that. Not stupid George Lucas. She dealt with the trauma of being pushed into the acid by reclaiming that moment for herself and pushing him into the vat of chemicals, into the acid.
Yeah, I got it.
Star Wars, it's fine. You're not talking to me anymore.
No. It's just I understand what a bell curve is, so it doesn't upset me when you say most things are fine.
Oh, okay. All right. Chapter 11, Episode 11. Joker emerges from the acid. He, in full getup, by the way, and he's back to being himself again.
Comic book logic.
Yes. So he talks about this is where he talks about dating the nurse and everything. Harley put a bomb in his head to control him and make him cooperate.
Or did she?
So she tosses the book, which gets grabbed by a parademon. As Harley and Joker attempt to retrieve it from the parademon's nest, he reflects on his relationship with Bethany and realizes he found true love, while she does the same in regards to Ivy. After retrieving the book, the pair are rescued by Batman and explain the situation to him, only to realize the book is not the Book of Fables. Concurrently, Darkseid orders Psycho to kill Harley while Ivy and Kite Man try to prepare for their wedding. After Ivy's dress gets damaged, she confronts Psycho only to get mind-controlled. But returning to Bethany's house, Joker reconciles with her before Batman calls Zatanna to free the Justice League. Joker decides to resume his criminal lifestyle while maintaining his relationship with Bethany, and Harley decides to confess her feelings to Ivy just as Ivy arrives to kill her.
Lots of serial killers have families.
Yeah.
Yep. It's true, but also funny at the same time.
I think now that you mention it, I think the one that Zac Efron played. Gosh, what was his name? He was dating a woman, I think, who had a kid there for a while, and he certainly had a relationship while he was in prison.
Yeah, maybe just before we move on, a couple of things to elaborate on.
Yes, sir.
Yeah. So I do like the bit where Psycho turns and Borgman chews him out.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
I was like, oh, she never appreciated me. It's like, she never appreciated you. Like, when everyone else had, like, thrown you to the wayside because you called Wonder Woman the C word, she took you in and rebuilt you as part of her crew. You got back into the Legion of Doom on her back. So, I always like it when stupid lack of logic gets called out like that.
Right.
So that, doesn't matter because Psycho's a dick.
I also like the fact that they went out of their way to make Joker, just a irredeemable piece of shit in the first season, and in this one, without emasculating him as such, they gave him an extra level, an extra dimension, because all he ever did was use Harley, and it resulted in his ultimate demise. And then he finds this woman who, at least for a time, cared for him just being him. And he was like, you know what? I actually like that. I actually like that somebody liked me for just me. Just normal, old, taking care of a family, being a decent guy me.
Yeah, white toast, milk toast, whatever you want to call it. Yeah, nothing special Joker.
Yeah.
Yeah, that was good. Well, he had experienced like an actual healthy relationship with someone, which really makes you put things into perspective when it comes to like dating and your love life. Like, oh, this is what it's supposed to be like. Oh, everything makes so much more sense now. But yeah, he starts off just trying to be old Joker, like, again, the complete jerk, and then as they go on, he starts to realize, like, oh man, like, yeah, like this person we really had something special, and it was kind of nice to see him and Harley, their relationship kind of grow as a result, where they're not getting back together because they already did that story, and
we are never ever getting back together.
Yeah, something like that. But there seems to be a bit more of an understanding between the two, and maybe even, I dare say, almost like a mutual support.
Yeah.
Totally. Yeah, it's almost kind of like they've stopped becoming this sort of toxic relationship, and now they're just kind of like, well, we're kind of friends as much as the Joker and Harley Quinn could be friends.
We're tolerating each other. We are allowing each other to live in this world, separately, and we are allowing each other to live together but separately.
Yeah, like even when Harley's fretting over her relationship with Ivy, Joker's actually trying to give her helpful advice. He's not just dumping all over everything and laughing at it.
Or manipulating her.
Yeah, like the bit where they're both in the parademon nest and they're like, back to back, like, this is it, we're going to die. And that just kind of nice moment of, hey, we're in this together.
Yep.
It was almost the relationship she kind of thought or wished she had with him before, but that was some nice character development, and I like how they're not backsliding into, oh, will they or won't they get back together. It's nope, we've done that story, that they're not going back together.
No, not to mention the fact that, like, as you said, they did that in season 1. This season revolves around Ivy and Harley's relationship.
Yeah, because that's as much as Cobra Kai is awesome. Seriously, everyone watch Cobra Kai. I did think they kind of went back to the well a bit too much with the rivalry between Daniel and Johnny.
Yeah,
it's like, yes, we get it. They're still bitter about the karate tournament, and the girl, like, come on, guys, you're both like past middle age now. Just have a beer, talk about it, go outside, beat the crap out of each other. Done.
Yeah,
move on.
I think the wife. I think when they fought in the driveway, and the wife was like, does anyone want breakfast? And he's like, I could eat. Yeah. That should have been the end of it.
Yeah, exactly. And when they started going out, when they ended up at the restaurant together. Anyway, this is not a Cobra Kai review, but yeah, like, I think they went. That's an example of kind of going back to the well too many times. Where it's like, okay, we need something new, a new development in the story, and so I'm happy to see Harley Quinn not falling into that.
All right, so the Justice League is back, and they're going to take out the Parademon army.
Despite Wonder Woman's racism.
Oh my God! There's so many like subtle, funny things in this show. Like I think Superman says something about like assuming because he's an alien, he can talk to parademons.
Well,
Wonder Woman just rolls her eyes at him.
Yeah, they're trying to find out where like Dr. Psycho's base is, and Wonder Woman gets one of the parademons in the Lasso of Truth and asks, where's the base? And it just starts screeching because it's a parademon, and then she just looks at Superman, and he's like, oh, I see. All us aliens can understand each other. Yeah, real great, Diana. It's like, okay, fine, I speak a little bit of parademon, but that doesn't mean it wasn't racist as heck, and she just rolls her eyes.
Stuff like that is what made me laugh about this show.
Yeah, it's fun and playful. And
yes.
There's somewhat of a point.
All right, so Kite Man rescues Harley and takes her back to his apartment, where they use Borgsman Eye to upload a digital version of him to Kite Man's electronics so he can help them build an anti-mind control device. Meanwhile, as you talked about, the Justice League deal with the Parademons and Dr. Psycho. Psycho has Ivy use her pheromones on
the Justice League.
On the Justice League. Before bringing Harley back to the mall, Kite Man follows them and gives Harley a finished device before trying to free Ivy with True Love's kiss. But to no avail. Psycho forces Ivy and Harley to fight, but the latter kisses the former, distracting Psycho long enough to free her and for Harley to give Ivy a second anti-mind control device. Together, they easily defeat Psycho and impress Darkseid, who offers Harley his army and the Earth. However, she declines as she is not a supervillain anymore. This has got a lot of parallels to the Harley and Ivy series that we reviewed yesterday. Plug. Once Darkseid leaves, Psycho uses the last of his strength to show all of Gotham Harley and Ivy having sex, leaving Kite Man bewildered. All right.
The reaction shots to that were brilliant.
Yes, they were. All right.
Special shout out to Alfred Pennyworth, you dirty, dirty old man.
So that leaves us with one more episode left, and we do get the wedding, the wedding of the year, before it all goes to hell. At this point, they've dealt with Dr. Psycho, they've dealt with the Parademon army, they've wrapped up everything into a nice little bow. The only thing left is Ivy's wedding, and whether or not Harley is going to tell Ivy how she really feels. And here's the thing. She tries, and Ivy's like, don't even come to the wedding. I need this stability in my life. I need this to happen. I need you to not fuck it up. Unfortunately, Harley finds out that Gordon is going to use this wedding as an attempt to arrest all the supervillains. And Harley tries to stop it.
Yeah, because all the supervillains are the wedding guests.
Yes. So Harley tries to stop it, but it just makes her look like she's obsessed and crazy, like you do.
Yeah, I mean, to be fair, Harley is mostly obsessed and crazy most of the time, so there's rational precedent here.
And again, she's not wrong, but it's too late by the time she figures all that out. Before Ivy figures all that out. While trying to identify Gordon, she attacks the wrong person and enrages Ivy, who tells her to leave. Despite this, Harley foils Gordon when he gasses everyone in attendance, though she causes the wedding to turn into an all-out war between the villains and the GCPD. Frustrated and realizing Ivy does not truly love him, so in the midst of all of this, Ivy tries to patch things up with Kite Man, but between them having sex 2 and 3 times, and him having proposed to her like 4 times before she finally broke down and said yes, which I wonder in the writing, did Kelly Cuoco sort of offer up little nuggets from her time in The Big Bang Theory? Considering that's what Leonard did. And finally, Kite Man's like, you don't really love me. I'm safe. I'm secure. I'm an answer to a riddle that you've had rolling around in your mind, but that's not true love. And I'm worth true love. And so he walks away from her.
Yeah, the beginning of that speech, he kind of came off as a bit of a jerk, just like, oh, my wedding's been ruined, screw everyone, screw you, this is all your fault. But towards the end, it kind of got more into look, this isn't working. I love you. You think you love me, but we're not meant to be together, and it's just bad. for us to continue this lie, basically.
Right.
Well, and during the ceremony too, like when he gives his vows, he pretty much describes his plan for their entire life together, which apparently he did not consult her on.
Yeah. So
again, pro tip, guys, you might want to ask your significant other before you propose what number of children they're thinking of having.
Yes, that was actually a thing that happened with my wife and I was like, listen, if you're not wanting to have kids or not ready to have kids, I don't know if we should get married because that's a deal breaker for me. And and she was like, no, family, kids, that's fine. We both settled on a reasonable number of either 1 or 2, no more than 2. But she knows, and I was very upfront about that if she was not interested in having a family with children, I was not interested in being married again. I was more than happy to date, but I was not going to get into a
long-term life commitment. Yeah.
Right.
Yeah. It's good to have these conversations, people, just about all sorts of things, just to make sure you're on the same page about those.
Yep.
And obviously, Kite Man and Ivy did not do that, and then she got a whole dump of, oh boy.
Ivy was
this might not.
Ivy was so fixated on the relationship being a way out of the craziness with Harley that she didn't see past that.
Yeah. And again, that's kind of the important part of marriage is what happens after the wedding, the living together forever part.
It's not always easy.
It's not.
Make sure the person that you're doing with is somebody who you can't stay mad at for very long. And that's
even more important. Make sure you're the kind of person that they can't stay mad at for long.
Well, you don't have any control over how they feel, but yes, it would be nice to know that going into the wedding.
Yeah. Relationships, they're a lot of work, but it's so worth it.
Yes, it is. It is important. I feel it is the very best in life to go through life with somebody by your side.
Well, Conan the Barbarian would disagree with you, but okay.
It doesn't work out well for Conan. He looks very depressed by the end of Conan the Destroyer.
Yeah, well, I guess that's a precautionary tale.
Yes. After you've heard the lamenting of the women, and you've slayed all your enemies, much like Alexander the Great, you lay in a rock and go, I've conquered the world, what is there left to do?
Well, don't forget seeing them driven before you.
It's true. I can never remember the whole bit. Even though I say it constantly. It's weird. Anyway, in a truly Thelma and Louise moment.
You picked up on that too.
Oh my God! Well, it's funny.
Okay, Mark, when did you pick up on that? Because for me, it was like right when they got in the car.
Yeah, totally.
Yeah.
I'm glad you've seen the movie because I went over this with Alexis last night, and Alexis had no idea what Thelma and Louise was, had no idea what Liza and Louise was by no effects. So I went on this tangent about Thelma and Louise and Liza and Louise and started singing Liza and Louise by no effects, and I might as well have been speaking Greek. She had no clue.
Yeah, in all fairness, I have not seen the movie, but I know the scene.
Okay. Did you ever hear Liza and Louise by no effects?
I don't believe so, but I assume it's related to Thelma and Louise.
It's about a woman who's had enough of men, and so she meets a woman in a bar, and the woman says, "Will you take your clothes off, please?" And they end up having sex, and she realizes this is the best thing that ever happened to her.
Okay.
It's a great...
Probably not very... Yeah, could be great. Probably not that popular in the circles I run in, but that's okay.
You don't listen to much punk rock, eh?
No. But that's okay.
You should listen when this is over. You should jump on your Spotify. You should listen to the entire No Effects, White Trash, Two Hebes, and a Bean album, and especially Liza and Louise.
Okay.
And you get a very Harley Quinn and Poison Ivy vibe. Any case, back to Thelma and Louise, back to Poison Ivy and Harley Quinn. They jump in the convertible and they speed off into the sunset, away from the fracas between the GCPD and the supervillains. And that's it. That's the end of the series so far.
Yeah. For now. Maybe.
Now.
We're not sure.
Yeah, we'll
have they announced the season 3?
They have not.
Yeah, I'm fine either way, really. Like, if it's a good show, I'd love to see more. But at the same time, they kind of told their story, and there's not any real pressing questions left.
No, they wrapped it up really nicely. So overall, just give me your kind of 50 words or less thoughts on this, and then we'll do plugs and get out of here.
Yeah, I think as I said before, it's the tone is much like an R-rated '60s Batman, which I love. Like I kind of miss the fun in the camp that Batman used to be. You know, before
I said like it as in terms of the writing of the relationships and the characters, this is probably some of the best character writing I've seen since The Wire.
Yeah,
and
getting there.
Sorry, go ahead.
Yeah, yeah. It's like it's not ashamed of the history of the whole franchise, which I think is great. You know, like even with Bane, like they've kind of made him this funny character, but they've also sort of merged the Tom Hardy, the Dark Knight Rises Bane with the traditional, venom infused muscle Bane, and it's just made such a better character out of it all, and then like there's shout outs to like the funny obscure villains, Condiment King, who Ivy wants to murder for his bad puns. Like there's a shout out to Egghead in there, Calendar King's used for some laughs. Like it's Man Bat shows up as a lawyer. Like it's just like it's so fun, yet they also are able to simultaneously dive into the deeper aspects of these characters. You've got the whole episode of Batman not being able to take a break and heal himself up so he can get back to work properly. Bless you.
Thank you.
Yeah, and and like I say, all the stuff with the relationships between Harley and Ivy, and Gordon and Barbara, him dealing with his personal demons, his marriage falling apart, his life falling apart, and then kind of getting his pride back and getting out of alcoholism while skipping all the really hard bits. It's funny. You have Frank the Plant having an orgy inside a flower truck at the end, screaming something about pollinating. One of the best lines of the series, but it's super fun, yet there's also some meat there to the story. It's not just gags and jokes and who cares. There's actual, you end up cheering for these characters. You want them to succeed. You want to see Harley grow and develop and come into her own. It's got everything I would want from what it is. My intelligence is never insulted, but my funny bone is tickled a lot.
Yeah, I know.
Put that on the box.
I know people when I said like probably the best written show since The Wire were like, that's just crazy Radulich, doing going a little overboard again. But people need to listen when I say what I'm saying here because this isn't just like I get the goofiness of it. I get why people might be like, it's probably a bridge too far. But again, what I'm saying is the best part about this show is the relationship writing. The best part about this show is how it deals, as a psychology person and clinical social worker, there's a lot of meat on the bone in terms of the psychology of relationships, how people relate to one another. So, yes, on the one hand, on the surface, people taking bats to the face, and blood everywhere, and a guy yelling out cunt, and it's like, oh, well, that's not smartly written at all. That's pretty lowbrow humor. You gotta sit and watch, and you gotta pay attention to the stuff that Harley and Ivy say to each other. And in the first season, a lot of that was between the Joker and Harley. And to a different degree, a lot of that was with Ivy and Harley too. As Ivy talked about feeling used by Harley and feeling invalidated by her. So that's where I'm saying, like, I don't see a lot of that in a lot of writing that I watch on television. Like, I don't think Hollywood handles interpersonal relationships real well these days. I think they write for a level of viewing audience that's not particularly bright, and it's more sizzle and not a lot of steak. And I'm here to tell you that despite the low-hanging fruit humor, that there's a lot of grist for the mill in terms of the interpersonal relationships that makes this a superior show. Which is funny to say about a DC animated show where somebody calls a Greek goddess a cunt, but I can't help that. The show is a lot of things. So if you haven't watched it, but you for some odd reason listened to this podcast, give it a shot. If for no other reason to see how crazy I am, that I think this is the best written show since The Wire.
Yeah. Do that.
You think I'm a lunatic too, huh?
Well, think is a bit of a shifty term, but
I'll have you know this got 100% fresh, based on 12 reviews on Rotten Tomatoes. How about that, huh? Run tell that.
Yeah, we love you, Mark.
Right.
But seriously, it is a good show.
Before I send David running away from here. All right, speaking of David, he'll be back in 2.5 weeks with his own show. You want to talk about that?
Finally. Yes, the much advertised, much anticipated, Star Trek retrospective finally begins. It's been a bit delayed, mostly due to scheduling conflicts due to America being on fire right now.
Well, the America may be on fire, but the schedule still stands. It's made of tougher stuff.
Yeah, how many delays for Mulan?
I don't want to talk about it.
Yeah, still expecting Gambit to show up.
Shut up!
Okay, but yes, so we finally got enough people to agree together. So later this month, Mark, Robert, Andrew, and I will all be talking about the Star Trek movies, most likely just the original TOS films, so that's Star Treks 1 through 6. And hopefully we can find some time after that to go through the TNG movies, and that's all that I have a solid date for right now, so look forward to that when we can get it all working together.
But we are intending to do the Next Generation shows, DS9, Enterprise, and maybe if David's nice to me, maybe if he's nice, he can twist my arm and make me talk about Discovery. I haven't watched it yet because it looks like hot garbage.
Yeah, you are correct there, but yeah, that would be great because I don't have any co-hosts for the original series, the animated series, which I'm just combining into one show because the animated series is basically season 4, and Discovery, and yeah, you guys don't want to listen to me just talk about by myself about Star Trek. It's we need a crew.
Well, I can't commit to yet another 60s, 70s, 80s era television show of more than one season right now, but I am willing to, other than Deep Space Nine, which is none of those decades, but I am willing to try to digest, just so I can be in the know, just so I can watch the Red Letter Media reviews of Discovery, just so I can know just how shitty this show actually is. I might actually do something that I make everybody else do on this network and swallow the red pill and watch those shows so I can talk about them with you. I'm willing to do that for you, David, because you've been such a loyal member of this network.
I come cheap.
That's what I say.
Yeah, but yeah, that would be fun. It's nice to talk to others about Discovery, especially people who don't like it, because I feel like I'm not the last sane man in an insane world.
Did Andrew watch it?
No, he hasn't done that yet. Maybe we might be able to get him on board too. I mean, I don't know. He's my friend. I don't really want to put him through hardship on my part. Like honestly, people, friends don't make friends watch Star Trek Discovery.
Oh, now I have to watch this.
Yes, you have to volunteer for the pain out of a higher purpose.
All right,
it'll be a crucible through which we will all band together as closer brothers, having experienced it all together.
Well, this puts an end for a month's worth of feminist propaganda that we've been running on this network. We started off with Catwoman When in Rome, and then we took a break for a week, and we went back to it again with 2 weeks, as a matter of fact. We talked about Supergirl, the show, and Supergirl being super. We did an on-trial for the Supergirl 1984 movie. We talked about Batwoman, The Many Arms of Death, Batwoman Season 1. And then we just talked about Harley Quinn, Poison Ivy from 2019. And this is the last show for a little bit there, Harley Quinn Season 2. Tomorrow, we'll be reviewing the new Looney Tunes series of shorts on HBO Max. And then we're doing The Old Guard, Pride of Baghdad. We'll be reviewing Extreme Rules and Fight for the Fallen. the aforementioned Star Trek movies, and we're ending the month with Warrior Nun. I think you should... I don't have anybody for Warrior Nun. I think you should do that one. I think you should step up, David Wright. I think you should step up and talk Warrior Nun with me.
We already did that for Star Trek Picard.
I think you should step up. I think I'm doing all these nice things for you. I think you should step up and read 3 issues of Warrior Nun for me.
We'll see. I'm not going to commit to anything just yet.
Oh, Jesus Christ. What am I paying you people for? Don't answer that. And
you
then,
can half my pay.
And then on the 29th of July, myself and Jesse Starcher will be reviewing an old album, but a fun album, Lagerstein, All for Rum and Rum for All. And we're doing that because I somehow got roped into doing A Long Road to Ruin, since we were supposed to be doing the Purge movies, but that got yanked off the schedule. Thank you, Hollywood. So having an open space on the calendar and people always wanting to ask me to do things, but when I ask them to do things, everyone goes fucking silent on me. So, yeah, meanwhile, I now have to do a retrospective of all 5 Pirates of the Caribbean movies. Oh joy, oh rapture.
I think Robert would disagree with you on that statement.
He's not here to tell me to go fuck myself. So, I will have at it. That's July 30th. And so that's that for now. The next also, David will be along with us to review Mulan. And I did talk him into doing one comic book, Daughters of the Dragon, Samurai Bullets. The issues 1 through 6 from 2006. So that'll be fun. All right. And then he'll be doing a Damn You Hollywood for Bill and Ted Face the Music September 1st, unless that movie gets moved for a 4th time. All right, that's it. That's all she wrote. I want to thank David for going on this journey for me through the 2 seasons of Harley Quinn. We'll talk to you soon. Be well, be safe, and behave.